first step of culturing lactic acid bacteria, also known as LABs for short, is to wash rice for the starchy wash. You could also use pasta for this if you wanted to. So oftentimes I culture IMO at the same time I make LABs because you have your rice and your rice wash. However, if you're not looking to culture IMO, then you might want to eat that rice for dinner. An important principle of natural farming is we never have any waste. We're washing the rice for all the starchy, milky looking opaque substance off the rice, which is a food for our bacteria. Oftentimes I like to stir with my hands, but I did sanitize my hands beforehand. If you find you've made more rice wash than 1/10 of your targeted final serum, then you can take that rice wash and feed your plants with it. By itself, without fermentation or adding that to milk, it has a lot of trace minerals and nutrients in it. And once thoroughly washed, we can strain off through a strainer or a filter of some sort. And a final rinse to wash off all the residual starches into our wash. Depending upon the desired amount of LABs that you wish to culture, that will determine how much rice you need to wash. Now, 1 cup of rice wash will work for about a gallon of LABs. So just remember, your rice wash will be 1/10 of the amount of liquid you're adding to milk to create your LABs. So next we want to place our rice wash in the same environment where we intend to use it. That could be the garden or on your farm. It's very important that we're collecting the indigenous microorganisms from our environment, especially in that same environment that we intend to use them. These microorganisms are well adapted and acclimated to our local environment. This is a real cornerstone of natural farming, and bugs in a jug or stored products could never compete. Here is a rice wash I put out 3 days prior, and it is at its prime right now. Looking at this, you can see that there are bubbles. There is a slight film starting to form, and it has a really nice, sweet, slightly sour smell to it. This wash is at its prime right now, ready to use, and I find that threshold of readiness is really around 3 days if temperatures are moderate. Hotter climates could take shorter, and colder environments could take longer. There is a Goldilocks zone. We don't want to collect our washes too quickly, and we don't want to leave them out for too long. Really what we're looking for is that first generation of bacteria that is prevalent in the environment. If we wait too long, that generation dies and we have a secondary generation of microbes form. And usually what we see is a thick film start to develop on top, and it'll drop into the liquid. And if you get any off smells that smell really bad or funky, that's not good either. We're looking for sweet to slightly sour. So we've added our inoculated rice wash to our fermentation vessel, and now we are adding milk. Here we want to use about 10 parts milk to our 1 part rice wash, and I'm bringing it up to close to 1/3. Here it's closer to maybe 1/4, but between 1/4 headspace to 1/3 is where we want to be with our ferments. And next we want to cover with a permeable membrane. Right here I'm using a paper towel, but you could use a clean t-shirt, a cloth, whatever is permeable and can breathe. And we want to seal that membrane with a rubber band or a tie of some sort to keep out opportunists such as ants or flies. And we'll take it right back to the same location we collected the bacteria in the first place. It doesn't have to be exactly the same spot, but again, it's always best practice to do your cultures in the same environments that you intend to use them. That way they'll be acclimated. The study of epigenetics can tell us a lot about the environment and its importance in biological development. 3 days later, I'm back to check on the LABs, and you can see we have a separation of our curds and whey. The curds are at the top. The curds cheese from the milk has separated now from the lactic acid serum, which is the whey, the liquid on the bottom. Little Miss Muffet taught us all about curds and whey, And that spider definitely knew the probiotic benefits of whey, also known as LABs. And our collection over here looks great. You can see we have a lot of activity. There's a lot of bubbles. Has a kind of sweet and a little bit sour smell, but you can see a lot of action going on. A lot of bubbles. There is a little bit of a film forming. So this is the perfect time to mix this with milk right here. Sweet and a little bit sour. Smells great. It's gonna make some fine cheese curds. So here I am straining off the curds and whey. I'm using a paint strainer bag, which if you've watched any of my videos, you know I love to use for all things KNF, Jadam, and really fermentation. So anyways, I poured the whey through a paint strainer bag and I have the cheese curds hanging above, filtering off my whey. And this way I can dry out the cheese curds for later processing and separate all that lactic acid serum, also known as the whey. I'll use a funnel to pour off my lab serum into a 1 gallon glass jar for storage. My motto is you can never have too many funnels or strainers around. So once we poured off our lab serum, our whey, we can store that in a refrigerator. We need to store that away in a cool environment and refrigerate it to preserve the life, the culture. Got to push some of those other ferments and make way for the whey. So now we're left with the curds to finish processing. And what we want to do is just squeeze out all the remaining lab serum that's left in there to completely dry out the curds as much as we can. What I'm gonna do is I'm making my own batter here, okay? And I put out the ingredients. So we are gonna do a batter. We're gonna do some fried cheese curds. However, I decided to run with, similar to Panko, we have the Cauli Crunch, right? So this is Cauliflower Crunchies. I love cauliflower. It's a great replacement for so many things. Okay. And then instead of the wheat, I decided to go with corn. And a little baking soda in there. And then we're going to go with a coconut almond milk, half and half. And then, of course, some eggs, cage-free, of course. What we're going to do tonight is I got some local beer here. Big ups to this company. Okay, no kickbacks, but big fan of that company here in San Diego. Guys, if possible, could I maybe just get a 6-pack? That would be super. Now we're going to mix our batter up, get it nice and homogeneous. Don't forget to season this to how you like your batter. You know, if you like spices, make it spicy. If you like it salty, add a little extra salt in there. Some herbs, some spice, everything nice. Baking soda is definitely optional too. I found that you really don't need it. You can overcook with it. I'm trying a unique, original recipe tonight, inspired by the South. I've processed cheese curds a few different ways. In this video, I'm gonna share a cheese spread I made from lactic acid bacteria curds. Lactic acid bacteria serum for any number of things, whether that's applying to our plants in agricultural purposes, horticultural purposes, soil drenches, foliar sprays, whether we're taking that for our microbiome, for digestion, for so many things. It's going to help us to assimilate nutrients. I always find that at the end of a batch of making lactic acid bacteria serum that I primarily use for the garden, for the farm, and I take some for probiotics, but I'm left with these cheese curds. I've made spreads, I've composted them, I feed them to my pets, but I'm always looking for unique, original ideas for processing these cheese curds. And tonight, I have come up with an original idea I'd like to share with you. And the name I've come up with here is Hush Curds. Now, if you're from the South or familiar with Southern food, you're probably familiar with hush puppies, right? I went to Texas once and I tried some hush puppies there, and I definitely enjoyed them. This is a recipe that is a corn flour base. It does have some cauliflower crunchies, so similar to a panko or a tempura, and then I also used beer. So I've done beer batter, just a fusion of a lot of different things. I cannot even tell you how this is going to turn out. I have no idea. You guys are experiencing this with me for the first time ever. So our oil's about ready. It's starting to smoke a little bit. We're going to start battering these. We're both going to find out, co-witness how this goes here. By the way, my oil of choice here is grapeseed oil. It can handle high temperatures, and I just all around love grapes. Dish this up and we are ready to try our southern fried, fantastically fermented food. So one of the questions I had was, will the cheese actually melt? And the answer is yes, it does melt. So that's cool. I'm gonna try some sweet and spicy mustard along with my hush curds. Let's try them out. Yum. Great crunch, nice and chewy. The cheese is still a little stringy. Delicious, guys. It's really good. Yum. The Cauliflower Crunchies just add a whole nother level of nice crunch to it. So if you've ever had fried mozzarella sticks, kind of a similar experience, only different, way different. We're talking about curds that you made at home, whatever batter you choose to use here. I did put some beer in this, so beer battered hush curds here. Delicious. First time ever, man. I'm really excited about this recipe. To be entirely honest with you guys, I'm not a huge fan of curds. In fact, that's what motivated this video. But I am loving these fried and melted. It melts like cheese, and it's just like a mozzarella stick. It's really fucking good. Delicious, guys. They are very similar to hush puppies, honestly. The corn also adds a nice texture. It's a little crunchier than other flours, but along with the cauliflower crunchies, wow, extremely crunchy and delicious with that cheesy core. Yum. Just like mozzarella sticks, if you've ever had those, when you first taste these fresh out of the fryer, the wok here, the mozzarella is melty, it's chewy, it's stringy, and as it cools down a little bit, it kind of gets chewier, just like the mozzarella sticks. Same thing. This is really delicious. I mean, look at me. I can't stop eating all these, so I wouldn't be choking these down pretending like they're good if they weren't. These are delicious. Highly recommended, guys. I'm never composting my curds again. After trying these, are so good. That's it, guys. Done. I ate them all. They're great. I don't know what else to say. They're really, really good. Try them out. So a real quick review, and then we're going to get into making cheese spread and cheese balls. So we add our rice wash after about 3 days, and then we add our milk, 1 part rice wash to 10 parts milk. We're going to leave about 1/3 headspace. All right, so 3 days later, and our labs is done. We have the separation here of curds and whey, and this liquid down here is the lactic acid bacteria culture. So we can use this for all kinds of things. Probiotic for us animals on the farm. We can do soil drenches with it at a ratio of 1 to 500 to break down compost, to battle pathogens. We can unclog our drains with this stuff. If it's organic material that's clogged, we can use it in septic systems. We can spray it on compost piles that have gone anaerobic and stinky. I'm currently feeding this to my chickens, my cat. We give it to the goats on the farm. So it basically, is a probiotic, just like it works for us. It helps digestion, helps the absorption and assimilation of nutrients. So in turn, you actually, you can feed your animals less on your farm because they're absorbing better, they're assimilating nutrients better. So in theory, you can actually cut down the amount of feed you're giving your farm animals. There's also vegan methods of making this with beans. So, if you're dairy free, then there's also methods you can use to make this. So what I'm gonna do is separate off these curds from the whey, and we can actually make a cheese with this. I'll show you some. These here are, this is actually the curds right here. I strained them off and dehydrated them. Essentially made this cheese spread here. And I've just added some mixed herbs and pepper for this spread. And took some beeswax and actually sealed off some cheese balls. Alrighty, I'm out here in Southern Oregon, Rogue Valley, and it is late winter. We're getting some rains, and it's an ideal time of year to be putting down LABs, lactic acid bacteria, doing some soil conditioning, doing some of our deep soil culture, soaking in some LABs into our mounds, nice and rainy. And this is going to help push down all the microbes deeper into the soil. Here is my trusty mobile reservoir that I am applying all of our soil cultures, fertilizers, liquid IMOs, LABs. Here we are. I'm going to mix up some LABs right now. This is approximately 400 milliliters, so it's going to be good amount, 1 to 500 for my pickle barrel size here. Getting it turning in there, mixing it around real nice. Little oxygenation in there. All right, so here we are. I'm applying LABs at a dilution rate of 1 to 500 and just soaking it into our mounds before we plant here. Still have some time before we plan to plant. We're looking at least a month and a half. It being March right now, and still real cold out in Southern Oregon. You know, we just got past having some heavy snows and might have some more snow. So what I like to do is just soak in this middle area real nice, and you know, come back and do it a few times to get it to soak down real deep, and then I just do the circle around it here. Soak in my middle area real nice. Do my perimeter circle here. Soak it in again. All right, move on.